How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at my physical media for the Hatchet franchise. Recently on this channel, I went through and watched and reviewed all these movies, and it was a really fun time. Retro throwback 80s style slasher movies with a good bit of gore and over-the-top practical effects, and a ton of fun humor and horror actor cameos. It's a really fun series, and I definitely recommend checking it out. But now that we've talked about all the movies, I want to show you guys my physical media. And physical media was really important for the Hatchet franchise. The first movie was a huge DVD success, and a lot of us saw these movies on home video rather than in the theaters, and my Hatchet collection is a very common Hatchet collection. The first three on DVD, and the fourth one came out a little while later, and in turn that's on Blu-ray, cause times kind of changed, right? And maybe someday I'll remake this video. I would love to upgrade the original trilogy. I would also love to get them signed at conventions, or of course the biggest thing is I'm really hoping someday we'll get Victor Crowley parts 2 and 3, but until then, let's make a video showing the common Hatchet collection that everybody has. There's some cool stuff, and I really do love these, so without further ado, let's go ahead and switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle taking a closer look at my Hatchet movie collection, and let's start off with the first one. Right off the bat, this is such a cool, iconic DVD cover. As I said earlier, Hatchet did really well in physical media sales, and this DVD you would see floating around. I absolutely love this cover. The stark black background with the shiny Hatchet in the blood on the other end. That's cool. Old school American horror, big unrated stamp. Yeah, it's a really simple but super eye-catching cover, and I absolutely love this one. Flip it to the back and it talks a little bit about this plot. A guy's gonna go on a haunted swamp tour in Louisiana. However, the boat's gonna crash, and it turns out they're in Victor Crowley's swamp. And yeah, Victor Crowley's kind of like a local legend, the ghost of a deformed man who was accidentally killed in a Halloween prank gone wrong. Very, very classic slasher stuff, and the movie would acknowledge classic slashers and play off them. Now, Victor Crowley is actually, of course, going to be played by Kane Hodder, and it's going to be so great to see him pop out and absolutely wreak havoc. Really fun, over-the-top slasher stuff, and as I said earlier, a ton of gore special effects. But Kane Hodder, you probably know as Jason from the Friday the 13th movies. My favorite Jason actor. I have to say Part 7 is probably my favorite Jason design, but having him in here is a pretty cool throwback reference, and the Hatchet movies are going to be full of cameos and references. For example, in this movie, we also have Robert Englund and Tony Todd making cameo appearances, and keep an eye out for several more as we continue through the series. And all the characters on this haunted riverboat would be such big and fun personalities. This was a super cool movie, and yeah, I absolutely love the first one. It really did popularize the throwback slasher subgenre. It was really cool. There's the main guy there in his little smiley face shirt. But yeah, that's a really, really cool shirt. Crack it open, disc is the same as the front, but a really cool image still, so good to see that preserved on the disc. But then after that, let's move on to Hatchet 2. I kind of feel like Hatchet 2, you know, they kind of zoomed out the first one's poster. So the first one was just the axe, then we zoom out, and now we see the hand holding it, and a little bit of the swamp around them. And the cool thing with Hatchet 2 is it picks up literally right after the events of Part 1, like the very next frame of the film, and all three of the original Hatchet movies would do this, and the first three Hatchet films you can, and probably actually should, watch as one really big long movie. It's really fun, and I think that's what Hatchet 2 does really well, is it says, hey, this is the same world, little things from the first movie are going to come back and be referenced, and like Tony Todd's in this movie, he's really cool as always, but he was just a little cameo in the first one, and now his part gets bigger and more expanded, and that's always really, really cool. Also with this movie, the main character, the actress that played her, wasn't able to show up for part 2, so she's recast by Danielle Harris of the Halloween franchise. Always great to see Danielle Harris in something. But yeah, part 2 deals with going back into the swamp and Tony Todd getting a group of hunters together to go after Crowley. It's not as funny as the first, it's a little derivative, but like the first one, it still has those over-the-top gore effects, and it still is pretty funny. It's just, yeah, not as good as the first, but the idea of that continuing world and keeping up most of the energy, it's not a bad film by any means. Crack it open, and there's the disc, once again same as the front. I will say there is something about the Hatchet 2 and 3 DVD releases that do bug me, and that is we switched to clear cases. The first one was in black, and now we get clear, and clear looks kinda cool, but they don't put anything behind it, so I do wonder why they went with clear. And now when they're on the shelf, they don't match? I saw on the internet you could order DVD cases in that clear red like HD DVDs used to be in. I kind of want to swap them out so they match, and wouldn't clear red look really cool? I don't know. I'll see what I do later. Anyway, after that we get into Hatchet 3. And yeah, now we're all the way zoomed out. Now we see this picture of Victor Crowley. The hatchet is there, but it's hanging down here. And we get to see the swamp and his burning cabin behind him. And there's, once again, Danielle Harris and Kane Hodder. And Hatchet 3 kind of does a little bit of what Hatchet 2 did. It's another group of people going into the swamp to look for Crowley. But this time around, it's actually a legitimate organization of like police force and SWAT members, so it really does get to that Aliens action point, and it does a lot of things that 2 did, but a little bit better, and the plan to actually defeat Crowley this time around is a little more viable than it was in 2, and overall this one does feel more like the big over-the-top ending, and this is the last one that actually connects. So if you view them all as one big movie, this is definitely the third act, this is the climax, and this one's pretty fun. Flip it to the back and you can see some of those hatchet hunters I was talking about. And yeah, we also have in this movie Zach Galligan as a sheriff. He's from Gremlins, and his ex-wife, Caroline Williams from Texas Chainsaw 2, is the reporter who takes Danielle Harris on the hunt for the special way to defeat Victor Crowley. And once again, there's the disc. Clear case with nothing back here. Put that down there. Now, these 3 I have on DVD. These are the 3 that, you know, if you look at an average Hatchet collection, everybody really has on DVD. And then enough time had passed that by the time the 4th one came out, everybody had switched to these Blu-ray DVD combo packs. Now, the 4th one isn't called Hatchet, it's called Victor Crowley. And part of that, I think, is because there's a time jump. There's 10 years between the events of the original Hatchet trilogy and Victor Crowley, and it really does make it feel like that was one big epic movie, and now this is the first one that really feels sequel-y. But I have to say, I really do like it because it is very much a return to form from part 1. You bring back the wacky characters, in this case a movie-making crew and a Hollywood interview crew, and there's a plane crash in the middle of the swamp, and that's why all these people are there, and we do get one of them being a reoccurring character, so there is connection, and they do very much reference the first few. But yeah, this plane wreck is very much its own thing. We are returning to much more of the humor of part 1, and we are kind of starting over again. Like I said, it's a fun return to form, and it's great to bring this series back again. And yeah, I do love they actually put the plane wreck on the cover, and then there's all the fire and stuff there, and the cover really does illustrate this movie has really striking blue and red lighting behind it. But also we do zoom out again. We go from the hatchet to the arm to Crowley, and now we pull out to see Crowley and his environment more. I wonder if that was intentional. Maybe Victor Crowley's gonna be really tiny if we ever get a part 2. Crack it open, and both discs have the cover image on them. Little thing at the bottom, Blu-ray here, DVD here. But yeah, I have to say, all the Hatchet movies came out to be pretty fun. I love the fact that these three all connect to be one big mega movie, and I would really love it if we got 2 more Victor Crowley movies and made a second mega movie there. But overall, even though like Hatchet 2's probably the weakest one, you still have Danielle Harris and Tony Todd in that, and some really cool moments. I have to say, out of all 4 films, there's not a bad one in the bunch, and going through and watching these again on my channel, I really did have a blast with these. If you haven't seen the Hatchet movies, go check them out. I definitely would recommend all 4. They are pretty fun. And yeah, they started the retro throwback slasher with a good amount of comedy, but also Kane Hodder tearing stuff up and a ton of gore. These movies are great. Definitely recommend them. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Hatchet playlist. If you guys want to see my reviews for each of these movies individually, you can click right there and see those. Anyway, have a good day. See you guys again very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.